Yo, Elliot!
Oh man, we back, and we're just gonna jump right in. Today I got a question from a bro who wants to know, yo, Elliot, I recently suffered a herniated disc at L4 and L5. It sounds horrible, dude. Doctors say I should stop barbell squatting and deadlifting for 3 months. I've been doing lunges, step-ups with body weight for quads and glutes. Can you recommend any body weight exercises that I can use to train my hamstrings and low back during this time of rehab? So yeah, of course I can give you a few exercises that you can do, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to talk about the big picture of what's going on here when you got abuse, misuse, or disuse in terms of our back and our necks and our shoulders and our knees and our ankles and all the kind of parts of our bodies that fall apart when we misuse, abuse, and disuse our bodies. And so if you're anything like me, you've abused yourself. And that means you probably are struggling with all kinds of acute and chronic situations. Lifting stones, carrying yokes, flipping tires, and all the crazy shit I've done through my youth has set me up in a situation where I know I've got some bulges. I know I've got some herniations. I know I probably got cracks in my vertebrae. Just never had a x-ray on my back, so I don't know. But if you are a typical gym goer, maybe not an abuser like me, you're probably a misuser. When I say misuser, it just means that you're doing shit in an inefficient way that's causing leverage issues within your body that's causing these chronic pains, right? So if you're an abuser, it's probably acute, meaning like you did some shit, snap my shit, right? Because you're doing crazy stuff like lifting stones. And that's like masochistic type shit like strongman and heavy powerlifting and just being an athlete, right? Football, rugby, even you BJJ guys, right? Like you guys, sometimes you just do crazy shit and bust your shit up and then you have an acute injury because you're abusing yourself, you're abusing your body. How many of you guys are abusers? How many guys here are abusers, right? There's something sexy about abusing ourselves that we get attracted to as men, right? There's something cool about it. I think we were all warriors in a previous life. And we come here and life is so damn boring that we put ourselves under the pressure of a self-made war, right? We give ourselves battles to overcome because it's just like too damn easy, right? I've discovered that in my life that I give myself all kinds of unnecessary battles to fight because life is just too damn easy, right? I make myself suffer, right? So you may be one of those guys. If you're one of those guys, I'm not really talking to you because we just fucking crazy. But if you're a typical gym goer, you're probably a misuser. And the way misuse typically happens is when there are very imperceptible muscular imbalances that were never addressed, and then you load the body on top of those muscular imbalances, right? And so the typical muscular imbalances are going to be either sagittal or frontal, right? What is sagittal? Sagittal is this way, right? So rounding of the shoulders, hyper extending of the low back, right? Things like that nature. We call that a hyperlordotic posture. That's sort of a frontal plane muscular imbalance that if loaded will create pain and problems. But then you also have frontal plane imbalances. And me, I'm kind of joking before, I am a masochist and I do abuse my body, but I have a lot of problems because I have a frontal plane imbalance, which is basically I have one leg longer than the other. My left leg is longer than my right leg. It's not that the bones are longer, it's just that my hips are misaligned. I went to a chiropractor many, many years ago and he took an x-ray of my hips. And before even showing me the picture, he asked me, he said, have you ever been hit by a truck or something? Like he legit thought I must have gotten into a car accident because my pubic symphysis sits like this. So you could just imagine, right? If it's like this, that means the ball and socket up in this hip is going to be higher or lower, depending on the side, right? This one is longer, so it's going to be lower. And so whenever I do even if I'm doing flexion, if I'm squatting, there's sort of this going on. Boom, right? There's a frontal plane imbalance that's going on. Now, I don't know what kind of muscular imbalances you have. I don't know if you have frontal plane, sagittal plane. I don't know if you have transverse plane imbalances, which is possible too. If you're one of these guys who if you work at a grocery store, for example, right? And you're standing here all day and you're twisting like this, right? Like checking groceries, right? You go from here to here, here to here. And if you stay at the same grocery stand all day long instead of going to the one on the other side and retwisting it, you could have transverse plane muscular imbalances, right? You're basically twisted. You could look like this. These types of imbalances can happen from all kinds of different reasons, right? I knew a guy once who had bad hearing in one ear, and so every time he would be around or just standing around or just the way he looked was like this. He just looked like this because he'd always have to like kind of lean in and have to hear a little bit more, right? And he seemed like a nice guy because he was always leaning in like, oh, I want to hear you, right? But it turns out that he's got problems in his ear, so he's got this, he sort of has a twist, right? All kinds of weird stuff. I knew a guy who had one eye higher than the other and it made his head do this. He went and got neck surgery, right? He had to get his neck fixed. But the problem was like when you lined up his actual head, because I did a little assessment on him, I lined up his head, his eyes literally like with this. So there's all kinds of different reasons why we can end up misusing our bodies because of muscular imbalance and then loading it, right? So you might want to take a look at that, right? You can have an assessment, a neuromuscular assessment done, and you can figure out whether or not, now here's where it kind of applies to you. You're saying you're doing quad exercises and you're doing glute exercises and and now you want some low back and hamstring exercises that you can do with your body weight. My concern, not that I'm really fucking concerned, but just like what I'm going to talk to you about here today is that you may be just doing random shit that's actually not supporting your rehabilitation. Because just taking the 3 months off is going to allow sort of a healing process, right? You're not loading the spine, right? And you're just training the muscles in isolation. You're training the glutes in isolation, you're training hamstrings in isolation, and you're training the quads in isolation. One thing I did not hear you train in isolation are your abdominals. And that's probably where the muscular imbalance is most prevalent. Think about it. Where are you strongest? Where there is bone present or where there's nothing but mush, viscera, muscle, right? Where there's bone present, like in you want to train your hamstrings, but you have the stabilizing support of your femur. You want to train your low back, you have you have a stabilizing support of your spine, right? But you also have all of the soft tissue around it, and the spine sits at the back part of your body. When you look at the anterior part of your body, there's nothing there but abdominal. And if abdominal muscles aren't strong, or if there is imbalance in the abdominal muscles, it's going to cause all kinds of torsion, flexion, extension in your low back that's causing you to have these injuries. These misuse injuries, right? Same thing with your quads, right? Your quads are supported by the hips, right? They tie into the hips, and they're supported by the femur. So what do? Well, the first thing I would do is try to find out if there is a muscular imbalance. If there's a muscular imbalance, then you're going to need to do some corrective exercises, corrective stretching. Me, for example, because I have the hiked up hip on this side, I get a lot of pain on this side. So all my herniation is probably jutting that way because I probably am crunching the vertebra down like this on that side, right? If I flex this way, what happens? This becomes the concave, that becomes the convex, right? So against the concave, it starts crunching. So what do? I got a Roman chair. One of the cheapest, but my favorite pieces of equipment I have here. Let me show you. So because I have a left to right imbalance, right, like I'm saying, and I know that this side is concave, I hop on this sucker here, and I open it up. Whoa! Ooh! Oh, there's a lot of tightness there too, but then where there's a tight muscle, ooh, there's a weak muscle. So I strengthen it also. Tight muscle is a weak muscle. So I spend a lot of time just on this side. If I do it on this side, it's just easy because I'm already concave on this side, right? So I gotta stretch this side, open it up, and bring it in this way, right? So that's what I do because of my muscular imbalance. Now, that would mean that I have a lateral disc bulge. I don't know if you have, what kind of disc bulge you have, right? Because a disc is a round thing. It sits like this. It could bulge anteriorly, posteriorly, laterally, right? I have no fucking clue because I don't know you. But these are just things that you could think about, dude. So when you're dealing with that, you might, if you have an anterior bulge, meaning it's bulging this way, then you probably need to do more flexion. Ooh, right? Crunching, you need to round your back, right? I do a lot of round back shit too because I'm lordotic. I have a hyperextended low back because my abdominals aren't as strong as they should be. So here I am, pot calling the kettle black, right? But, I work on it. By doing planks, doing hollow bodies, doing rollouts. I hate doing abs. I'd much rather do heavy deadlifts and squats than do abs. Or you could call it core, but literally the abdominal muscles. And that's a recipe for disaster. If you're training with heavy weights, so now we're talking about rehabilitation, you want to get back to barbell squatting and deadlifting, but you mentioned nothing about strengthening your core. I guarantee that you got a core imbalance. Guarantee, because where is the L4, L5? Right here, right? Like if you go to your belly button, boom, right on the other side. What are you doing for the belly button, dude? What are you doing for this area? Right? You got to strengthen that. So if you're going to do hamstring and low back exercises, you need to do exercises like forward ball roll, right? Which is, a lot of this stuff I learned from Paul Chek. Forward ball roll, you need to do forward ball roll, right? Which is you get onto a Swiss ball, you get on your knees and you push the ball out. So you're not doing like rollouts like you're doing with a wheel, you're doing it with a ball. And the reason why I say that you need to do that is because it's going to strengthen your abdominals, which is going to support your low back. It's not a low back exercise, right? A lot of times we want to go to the place that has the pain and thinking that we need to exercise that area with the pain, but it's the areas around the pain that are dysfunctional that it causes us to have the pain in the place that has the pain. And I would do Swiss ball. These are two exercises with Swiss balls. I would do forward ball roll, and then I would also do supine hip extension with knee flexion. Oh, fuck. I gotta show you guys these things. And I'm using my vertical camera here. So hamstring. Okay, all right. Supine hip extension with knee flexion. What does it sound like? It sounds like you're supine and you're gonna do hip extension and knee flexion. This is probably the best exercise you can do for your situation. So hopefully you guys can see me with my vertical camera here, but what you wanna do, you wanna put your feet up on the ball like this, palms up, squeeze your glutes, and flex. Boom, flex at the knees, keeping your hips up, right? That's supine hip extension with knee flexion. And this is forward ball roll. And you're here. You want to maintain good posture. I should really do this one more, but I fucking hate it. And then you extend at the hips and the shoulders same time. Boom. Boom. Boy, I really need to do these. I need to pull out my old Paul Chek notebooks and actually do this shit. But hey, I'm just getting back. And I'm happy to tell you guys what I know. Do as I say, not what I do. But hey, you're the one with the pain, dude. So do what I say. And I'll start doing it too. Done.